I'm Debbie Durel. I'm married to Mark Durel, who's the founder and CEO of Brain Restoration Wellness Center. I wanted to share my testimony that I had been struggling for many years, as far back as I can remember, with mental illness, with suicidal ideations, anxiety and panic disorders, numerous hospitalizations for nervous breakdowns. And it wasn't until I came to the States in '86 that I actually was able to have some mental health treatment through the form of antidepressants. The Prozac actually helped in those years to at least help me function, raising a family and in a marriage. Relocating from England to the States was quite a shift for me. I was raised in England, and in England I had taken my first overdose, suicidal attempt at the age of 16, and walked through that, but did not actually have any mental health treatment per se through drugs in any form to help with the chemical imbalance. And so I dealt with depression day in, day out, and raised a family with depressive cycles and depressive dysfunction in the family. And when I met Mark, and we married a few years ago, I fell in love with him and his testimony and his passion to see addicts helped the non-conventional way through treatment of NAD. And when I met him, I had been on, I think it was Celexa, for off and on. I'd gone through a very difficult divorce, and had dealt with that as best as I could. But I had been on Celexa off and on, and Klonopin, and also Visceral to help me sleep at night, because when sleep deprivation is quite normal with the depression. And when I met Mark, and we started to build a life together. One of the things I learned very quickly was that there was another treatment available. And so I had a treatment. It was a 6-day treatment, which actually came at a time where I had been dealing with some loss of memory with PTSD. Now when I look back, it was PTSD. And at that time, I wasn't able to drive for about a year. I had chronic anxiety and panic disorders, and I wasn't sleeping properly. And it got to the stage where I actually lost my memory for a number of days over a number of weeks. And Mark was able to treat me with the NAD. The treatment then began to reverse the chemical imbalance, because I remember through it, I had experienced depression chronically with suicidal ideations, but this PTSD was something very different. This was where I couldn't remember what I had said or what I had done, and I'd lose whole segments of the day. And so Mark was aware that there was something at a point of crisis for me. And the option was either to hospitalize me, and he gave me the choice. He said, honey, you know, you're in a serious condition here. What do you feel you want to do? And I said, I can't be hospitalized again, because I've been hospitalized over and over for mental illness and nervous breakdowns, and that wasn't a route I wanted to go. And so when we started the treatment, I was in pretty bad shape. Mark couldn't really leave me alone for very long, because he was concerned about what might happen to me, because I was very suicidal as well. And after the treatment, I was able to remember who I was. I was able to sleep through the first night in many, many months without the help of Klonopin or Visceral or even melatonin. And so the first thing for me was the restoration of sleep. And it's not until you've had a lifetime of sleep deprivation and your sleep is restored without anything to help you sleep that you realize this is something really special. And so the first thing that was restored was my sleep. The second thing that was restored was the thoughts of suicide and the thoughts of being in a dark place with depression was completely eradicated. And of course then the desire to live came back again, because that's what happens with somebody who's chronically depressed and who deals with a chemical imbalance. I knew instinctively that something had been restored in my brain cells and with the chemical frequencies. And then one of the major bonuses was my libido was restored. And I remember when that happened, I was sitting on the couch with Mark and I said, "Babe, I know you're teaching me everything you know about NAD, because you've treated so many people." Mark's treated about probably over 100 people. And I said, "But I can distinctly sense that some things are coming awake here." And he said, "Well, it's supposed to restore all types of cells, all of the cell structure in the body." And so the libido was something that was really restored. And so that was part of my life that I'm very thankful for, to have that stability of mind and to have the quality of life back. And of course, being able to drive, being able to function, being able to complete tasks in the day, and to be able to laugh. And so the crying bouts, the weeping bouts, the depressed cycles of feeling that this all life will be is this depressed state, this sense that I just need to kill myself. That was all just eradicated. And I think for me, because I've experienced it personally, firsthand, I can only speak from that. Did I have PTSD? Yes. What was the trauma? We all have trauma. It could be a divorce, it can be loss of a child, it can be loss of a business, it can be hope deferred, it can be having dealt with sickness for a long time. Mental illness is very debilitating. It's a silent killer. We know addiction is a silent killer, but mental illness has always had a stigma. And what we realize with NAD is that in the area of depression, in my case, with the PTSD and the anxiety and the sleeplessness and the panic attacks, has it affected the quality of life? 100%. 100%. And so I'm a great advocate for that, because of having had a lifetime of hospitalizations for mental illness, for nervous breakdowns, in and out of hospitals, on pharmaceuticals. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with pharmaceutical drugs, they work. But for me, I could not go back into that option, and I was able to access the NAD treatment. And I just want to say that it was one of the most life-changing improvements in my life. It not only improved my quality of life, but my sense of well-being. That my concentration came back, and the things that I'm passionate about were restored. And so that was my experience with NAD and the treatment.